Hey guys, welcome back into the Jury Duty podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, and that is my beautiful co-host over there, Kimberly.
Back at ya.
Back at ya. No, thank you. We are recording this the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
True crime never sleeps.
True crime never sleeps. I've said it once. I've said it a million times. We are the Real Housewives of true crime. Full stop. Anyways, we have some really exciting things coming up. Things are about to get super busy for us. I can't even believe we're almost in December, Kimberly.
I can't either.
even
I
believe it.
can, but I can't. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it does.
It's weird.
We are going to have a lot of jury duty podcasts coming in. Kimberly's going to the trial. We're going to have a lot of updates. We haven't even gotten to discuss like how we're going to work that. Stay tuned. We will figure this out.
And every time we put out an episode, guys, literally the next day while we're doing research, it's like, well, that answers our questions from yesterday. So we're back with another update.
Yes, we're back with another update from Mamta. Please like, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things. We love having you guys. We love talking about Mamta's story. It looks like you guys have really loved us talking about it as well. So thank you for that. Thank you for watching our videos. And let's get started on some more Mamta content to fill in some blanks here, shall we, Kimberly?
We shall. So let me prepare the information.
Yes.
All right. So some updated information. I'm going to try to move as quickly as I can. If you've listened to any of our videos by now, you know that is an ask. But we want to get through as much as we can today. Some updates from the information about February of 2024. Now, quick recap. This is about the time where the police enter the equation. A DV call is made. This is also the period of time where Mamta goes to stay with a friend temporarily. And we talk about some Google searches that were made in, what was it, April? And it turns out there were actually some Google searches in February, too. At this point in time, he's also using his cell phone to Google uncontested divorce time and uncontested divorce joint bank account Virginia. I just realized that I could have given you some context and background about the implication of these things in Virginia, but I didn't do that much research. So maybe in update 400, I will tell you why that's important. But it definitely gives you some insight into the state of mind at that point in time that we didn't have some context to.
Can I say something about that really quick?
Of course you can.
Okay, so their friend Mandira, she was the one that did like the 4-hour interview. She said in January, that's when he was asking her, if she knew of any divorce lawyers. And she was like, what? No, why? And he said, just give me the name of a divorce lawyer. Do you know one? And she said, no, I don't. And he was just kind of like, well, I'll go find one on my own.
He did the man thing where instead of using Google, which he's proven very apt at doing, he asked a woman. He asked a woman.
Hey,
it's not funny, but you know what? This is proof that he's a living, breathing, red-blooded human man.
Yeah. So this has been on his mind for a little while now.
Right. And we know that both of them were thinking about it before we had wondered sort of aloud to each other. I wonder if the catalyst for some of this action was she sprung this on him. She didn't. So it's just an interesting 1,000-foot view on both of their mental state. They're both thinking the same things, obviously not going about them the same way. We have some updates to April as well. So in our original, I guess we'll call it a presentation, in April, we're back to the Google searches again. We included how long to remarry after your spouse dies and what happens to debt of the dead spouse, actually. So that was not a typo. It's just been sort of reported differently. Well, we have an update to that. He also Googled Happy New Year message to girlfriend. Look at that quotation mark. You guys, every time I miss something because I'm in such a haste to give you such great content and I put punctuation where it doesn't go or misspell something, put a bingo card out there. I'll send you a $25 gift card.
No one would have even noticed.
I noticed.
I know.
Obviously, just not in enough time to fix it before I jumped right in, but that's okay.
Fine.
The Commonwealth of Virginia in one of the recent hearings pointed out that the Nepali New Year is in April. So Lindsay, you and I were kind of batting this around, Was he seeing someone? Was he trying to be seeing someone? Is that it's
Yeah.
been sort of an undertone, but not anything that's been confirmed. Friends have said, well, he was very flirty. I know you've got some, I won't spoil that for you, but Happy New
Yeah.
Year message to girlfriend. That's pretty,
Yeah.
given what we know about what he has Googled and what has come to pass, I don't think that's a metaphorical, what if I had a girlfriend? How would it?
Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm,
I
mm,
know.
mm, 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 mm.
Well, his friend said that he was talking she kept saying the village girl. I don't
Mm.
know what that really means, but she was saying, like, they would talk on the phone for hours, and Mamta knew about it and would say something to him and be like, "Doesn't that bring you shame or anything?" And he just was like,
Oh.
"No." So,
Oh.
I think that's where my mind went to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. So again, this is the day before Thanksgiving, so it's the 27th. It's
Yeah.
the
What
27th
did
because I said it is. It's the 27th.
Yeah, we're the
Um,
Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
we're just about shy of 2 weeks of this trial starting. So I think we're going to get plenty more context when it starts. I'll just put
Yeah.
it that way. We have updates about the Baltimore situation. So there's more updates on this coming in the next few minutes. However, originally on the left side of the slide, this was the information that we provided the first episode that we did with this. There is an alternative return time for Naresh, though, and I'm not entirely sure what the disconnect is because the 1:02 a.m. Return time was, I believe, based on Tesla data. Maybe there's just a discrepancy I'm not aware of, but just for posterity's sake, I was going through some notes that someone took from court that I knew that was there. They wrote down 12:29 a.m. in one of the hearings. So he is in Baltimore for most of the day on July 28th. This would be the day before things start going into motion. And that answers the question about how long he went, but
Mhm.
not why. He was there pretty much all day. So the arrival time, we're going to put that in there just in case the first one was incorrect, but it does tie in here. So we're still on July 28th. Originally, you don't have to read this slide, guys, but we talked about what Mamta's day looked like on the 28th. We know that she talks to her mother at least 2-3 times a day. We know that she posted a TikTok late morning. We know that she had texted Nadia several times later in the evening to come over. And we kind of postulated a bit like, why would she do that? Did she not want to be alone when he came home? Interestingly, I didn't see a change in departure time from Baltimore. So that's why I'm not sure if there's just a discord in the arrival time. But the new updated information for the 28th, actually, a couple of little updates. First and foremost, July 28th, we now know that her phone indicates she is home all day. She
Mhm.
didn't go anywhere. She was home. Also, we know that there were a few points of contact that we didn't know before. So at 6:03 p.m., she is on Facebook Messenger sending a quick thank you to a merchant she purchased a piece of jewelry from. And then at 8:25 and 8:58, she tries to call Naresh. Based on the way that was stated, I'm going to guess that she did not reach him. But
Mhm.
I'm going to assume at some point, perhaps there's context missing here. This is just a breadcrumb that we're sliding into place as we go. I'm going to guess that he did touch base with her at some point to say, I'm coming home or I'm leaving soon, because then she starts calling Nadia and texting Nadia pretty close to his original departure time. So I just thought that was interesting. And it gives us a little insight into what she was up to in some of the intervening time that we did not know before.
I mean, that definitely fills in
Yeah.
some blanks, you know?
Yeah, just a couple. I mean, there's still like hours here that are gaps,
Yeah.
but I think that filling the timeline in as we go, even if we're going backwards, doing the Tarantino like we are now, I think it's
Mhm.
helpful. It gives you an insight. What was
Yeah.
she doing? You know,
Yeah.
we have more. July 29th. This is the original information that we shared. He gets home between 12:30 and 1. We'll just put it that way on July 29th. We know that at some point during the day, we didn't have a time, that she was in contact. I believe it was the friend in New York about a party. And at 7:45, she speaks for about 15 minutes to her mom and she seems a little gloomy. And then originally, since this is about 8 p.m., the last confirmed activity we know from Mamta on the 29th. My guess was that between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m., when the frantic Google searches about chicken farms and brain diagrams started, clearly something had happened between the two of them. Well, I have a couple updates here. Well, not a couple. Okay, this is one update. There's also an alternative time to when she spoke with her mom. So this might have been a misprint or something, that just got between the cracks. But the adjusted time for this video chat is now 8 p.m. So we just bumped it back 15 minutes, according to what I have learned from going back in all of the court hearings so far, but still relevant. It's a 15-minute squeeze, but it's interesting the back and forth that some of the information is changing a little bit. And that's not to anyone's discredit. We're doing pretty well, if I say so myself. And so is the community, putting pieces together that fit and they're not crazy, outlandish aliens took her. Like, it's all been really consistent. So the 30th of July, I actually have a number of updates. Originally, we walked you through this being the day that we believed that Mamta was no longer here. So we walked through 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. He's making Google searches. Mamta's mom is starting to call. He's getting a little shifty at the babysitter's house, dropping baby off, looking at dumpsters. We won't go through all of it, but there's some updates here that I'm going to pull out for you. This is the updated adjustment. So I separated him leaving at 6:44 a.m. from the babysitter's house and arriving home to two separate little bullets because it helps provide context. It's an approximation. It takes roughly 9 minutes to go from door to door. So he literally went to the dumpsters, did what he had to do, and straight home. And an update here, originally I had 8:21 and 8:12 a.m. As far as the Walmart and Home Depot trips, which again, based on the driving video, if you haven't watched it, it'll pop up right here for you. It's plausible that in less than 10, he was in and out of the store and off to the next one, but this fits a little better for me. According to the Commonwealth of Virginia, he actually spent 20 minutes. So makes a little more comfortable sense. So we're just pushing the timeline back a couple of minutes there. And then this is where updates galore. Some context here, and maybe I do have to do another drive or pull up Google Maps and really bring you guys down the dark rabbit hole, because when he picks up baby, so you'll see here in red, this is where I've changed information or added it. We now know, according to the state, that before he picks baby up, he parks his Tesla by the same dumpster he was discarding things at. And that parking spot is further away from the babysitter's unit than the other parking spaces. So, in other words, he was intentionally parking near that dumpster. Let's pretend like no one caught him on camera in the first place. Why is he parking so far away next to a dumpster? Well, that's some context for you. So I might have to go do a little retroactive deep dive on my experience in that neighborhood, just trying to figure out, okay, where could he have parked? I don't know. It was worth noting to me. But also, Home Depot is not really mentioned in these court documents, but it was reported heavily. I don't know if he went to Home Depot, but instead it looks like he went to a Lidl at 5:22. Lidl and Home Depot are less than a mile away. Because
what is
at
a Lidl?
4:53, Lidl is like an Aldi. It's a little German grocery chain.
Okay.
And it's a little more charming than going to a Walmart or a Giant. And they've got some unique items, like European items. But this is interesting for me because it sort of shifts my perspective of where he was and what he was doing. When I'm thinking Home Depot, I'm immediately thinking Loudoun County, 30 minutes away. How did he get 30? I mean, 4:53 to 5:22. All right, fine. But he would have had to have been booking it. This tells me he was in Manassas and not in Loudoun, because Lidl, I don't know if it's even in Loudoun County. For me, I can tell you right now visually, I could give you directions turn by turn from my house to Lidl right now because I know the area so well. It is 2-3 traffic lights away from Home Depot here. So he could have gone to both, but the Lidl from the babysitter's house, also less than 10 minutes. Definitely was in Manassas for this. That is where he bought a 40-pack of 30-pound extra strong black trash bags.
I think kind of like you had mentioned before, like this is really tightening things up so everyone has a really good understanding of like how from the last known interactions with Mamta till kind of where we are right now in
Yeah.
the timeline, how things are happening, and they're happening fairly quickly. Like, he's moving fast. Saying strategic is giving him too much credit, I feel like. But
Methodical.
yeah, I think that's the better word for
Yeah.
it. But that just breaks my heart when I hear the trash bags.
Well, and he had to have baby with him because he had just picked baby up.
Yeah,
So it must have been a lickety split kind of trip, because if you've ever been in a store with a toddler, an infant, or a husband,
all bad.
quick segue, because this was just really funny. Maybe you guys need a moment of levity here. It's the day before Thanksgiving. My husband and I decided, let's go get sushi, because I've been like breaking my back. And that's not a joke, because I actually have a back injury right now. I'm wearing a really sexy back brace that's out of frame.
Ew.
And I was like, let's go. Absolutely. I don't want to make any more food in this house. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. Take him to Target. It's paradise for him. I am not the one. Okay. That is Target problems. It's my husband. And I went, Marco, because I thought I knew where he was. And two very stressed, panicked husbands in very close proximity went, Polo. Neither of them were my husband.
Yeah, you're like, not
So,
you. I'm looking for my real spouse.
so if you
Where
have a
is he?
toddler, baby, teenager husband, going to the store with them can be a little bit of a nightmare. So,
Yeah. Well, he wanted to get in and out.
in and out. And Lidl is by no means a large store that it's like a traditional grocery store where there's 15 aisles. It's a quick trip. Some confirmation that some of our inferences and our deductive reasoning have also worked out for us, Lindsay, much like Sarah Boone. So 1:30 a.m. on July 31st, we talked about one of the stops he made in the Tesla to discard of things we thought may have been at the Fairfield Crossing Apartments, where he had a unit, because he'd be familiar with that. All it said was Falls Church. I
Mhm.
said, you know what? I'm going to put my money on he went to the apartment complex. And he did. The Commonwealth, in so many words, said where he had a unit, he was using the trash can. I was like, yes,
I
I
remember
knew it.
reading that. Yeah.
So I had to put that in as an update, because why not?
Good
So
job,
nothing new
Kimberly.
there. I just wanted to confirm that we were on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah.
The 11 to 12 time frame was a little eyebrow raising, because we know that the house uses 150 gallons of water in that hour, which means he was flushing something, a lot of something, put it that way. And we didn't know a ton about what he did for the rest of the day, other than he would routinely revisit sites he had dropped things just to make sure they'd been retrieved or dumpsters had been emptied, wearing white gloves. Now we know a little bit more, just a tiny bit. The Tesla was caught on a plate reader in Fairfax County around 1 o'clock. So after he's done all this flushing, about 1 o'clock, I'm going to guess on 66, major highway, and it's got easy pass. So there's cameras and plate readers, which would make sense. So he probably was in or out of the HOV lane. 1:47 p.m. there he is at the Walmart I took you guys to, buying cleaning supplies, air fresheners, and soap bars. So it adds a little context, a little flavor here, if you will. 11 to 12, he is clearly using a shit ton of water in that house, flushing something, and then he immediately goes out to buy cleaning supplies. It just gives a little more connecting of the dots. Like, this is why he went out at that point in time to go get cleaning supplies.
It wasn't enough. There
It
was just
wasn't
so much.
enough.
Oh.
Right. I
Okay.
know. I know. So that's my update there. It's almost like a surprise, because I can't see the slide before I pull it back up for you guys. I'm like, I wonder what's coming
Ta-da!
next.
Yeah.
There is one major update on this page that I can't wait to hear more about, because I'm going to file it under versions of whatever happened that he's given, because his public defender, I believe, says very vehemently, right now their stance is, we don't know that she's not alive. We don't know that that is her blood. They're still sticking with that. And they will, so far, do as aggressively as they can, which is their job, to make every point possible that she could still be alive. And to do that, apparently, either he said this to a lawyer or someone else, he heard noises downstairs on August 1st. And I'm going to assume that isn't, oh my gosh, there's an intruder, and I'm just going to sit here and document, hey, I heard noise. Fumbling, dishes, cabinets closing, things that you would hear in your house. And he assumed it was Mamta getting ready for work. It's random, though, because it doesn't come up anywhere else at all. And okay, let's say that you heard noises. Did you say hello? Did you call? Did you try to text? Was that you? Apparently not, because there's zero communication between their phones. That seems like a really, really, really random, poor excuse for, well, I thought she was here on the first. That just makes no sense to me. Throw it to the wall, see if it sticks.
I think that's a very poor attempt
Very.
for.
Because what would you do, Lindsay, if you thought your husband, who'd been missing for a couple days, missing,
Yeah.
at this point, he still tells the police that he doesn't believe she's missing. She's visiting somewhere or she's run away somewhere. If you thought that you heard him clamoring around downstairs, wouldn't you call out to him? Wouldn't you try to call him? Wouldn't you try to confirm? Or would you just go, well, must have been him and go about
Or
your life?
run down the stairs and be like,
Right.
where have you been?
Right. So
You
this is
know?
why, not that I believed it to be like, oh, maybe he thought he heard noises. No, I think this was just a really poorly prepared reason to go, well, I thought I heard noise. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Shut up.
You sure didn't. And then baby detail that's really quick. When he didn't have gloves, he would use like paper napkins or something. So at the cafe at the Liberty Gas, apparently he was using napkins to grip the bags and dispose of them and then throwing the napkins away somewhere else. I guess he ran out of white gloves to use. Who goes on a drive to dispose of things and forgets their white gloves? Okay.
Okay.
So originally, the dates were out of order 7, 6. Get your bingo cards. I'm telling you what.
You're doing great.
I still didn't fix them for this slide. What does that tell you about my state of mind right now?
No, you're good.
So I'm not going to read off all of the big bullets on here, but this is what it looked like before. And a couple of updates. And I actually mean a couple this time. So one of the reasons, not reasons, but one of the sort of, I guess I'll say, mitigating factors in his public defender's push for certain motions, which we will get into in a very upcoming episode about all of the court appearances and what's happened there, the evidence, because we want to piece this together piecemeal, but in order for you guys. But the public defender who is doing his job. So I know this is eyeball rolling inducing to some people, but he's doing his job. He did file for a Frank's motion because he believed that the probable cause and the criminal complaint was all based on exaggerated or information that was used to benefit a certain perspective of what's going on, so to speak.
Yeah.
So one of the mitigating points was, did he really refuse to file a missing persons report on August 2nd when they went to his home? Or did they offer and he was like, no, she's not missing? And they said, okay, well, if she doesn't come back. And the point being, the level of concern that he might have expressed, the level of knowledge that he might have had about what she was up to, and just the way that it would look for police officers not to insist, let's report her missing, she's not here. So I understand the reach to see if that would stick. But part of that was originally that he texted one of the police officers on August 4th and never got a response to the next day. It was almost, I would say that I took it and read the court transcript as, you're going to text the police officer that your missing wife isn't home yet and they don't even have, the wherewithal to text you back the same day. That's kind of what I took away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, this is a missing person. You couldn't be bothered. And we didn't know. In the last episode, I think I said verbatim, we have no idea what time these texts were sent. Maybe he was asleep and it was 2 a.m. when he texted this officer.
Right.
We have some context for that. So apparently he did get a response from that officer that night. And this might be one of the reasons that Frank's motion was withdrawn, among others. But he texted at 5:09 and said, Mamta Kafle is not back. And he has, quote, not had any contact. 9:22, the officer says, okay, well, if you've done everything you possibly can to figure out where she is and you think she's really missing, you need to call 911. He, a couple minutes later, says, thank you. He doesn't call 911. He calls the Manassas Park Police Department, which is fine. But we do have the context now. We know that he did not text on day A and get a text until later on day B. It was all the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether that was an error on the public defender's part or if he was misrepresenting information. No idea. You'd think that he would have this information before making this bold assertion that Officer couldn't even be bothered to text him back. And then just a little bit of context, unless, Lindsay, you have anything you want to add on that. I know I'm energized or bunnying through this.
No, you're good. I think that's really good context because I was wondering about like, well, if the officer was off duty, even in the middle of the night or whatever, couldn't he have just forwarded that on to whoever was on call, on duty,
Right.
whatever? But it looks like he got a response and was like,
Right.
call 911,
Right. You'd think if you got a text message from a concerned citizen
Yeah.
that you'd already been working with that says, okay, so my wife's not back, you would respond immediately, or at least the same day and go, oh, okay. Well, he did.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of context, we included that the search for Mamta was escalated to involuntary critical missing on August 8th. So she was reported missing on the 5th officially when Naresh finally connects with the police department. So only 3 days later, they change it to involuntary critical missing. We can assume that that's because between the 5th and the 8th, something didn't look right to them. Now we know what they were doing, the police, between those dates. We know now that between the 5th and the 9th, the detectives spent most of the time interviewing family, friends, and coworkers, and all of them confirmed in one way or another that it was not normal for Mamta to leave several days without baby, especially. She has not disappeared without notifying anyone of her whereabouts, so that was a lie. If one person says it's raining outside, okay, I might trust you because I'm not near a window, it's raining. If 20 people say, wow, it's really coming down, okay, it really must be raining. I'm not going to disbelieve person number one. However, the more people that start confirming information independently, the more likely it is to be true, at least in my experience. So, and it was also very unusual for her to be with no means of communicating. So she destroyed her phone was something that he kept telling police. Witnesses, friends, family members, no, she would not disappear with no way to contact anyone without telling anyone. She was
She
really
had 3
active.
Yeah, she had 3 different phone numbers and
Right.
yeah.
And she was active on social media regularly. And if you look at her TikTok account, it says she's a content creator. So I'm assuming that these contradictions very quickly, thank God, were really adverse to what he said in that 8-2 body cam video, raised alarms, and her status was updated 3 days later to involuntary because they went, okay, she's not missing on her own accord.
Yeah.
All right, our next update. In the second episode, we were talking about, you know, if this guy is telling you mid August, hey, I'm taking my baby out of the country, my wife is not back, I'm selling my house, I'm selling all my stuff, why would the police not see that as a big red flag? And we talked about this like, oh my gosh, August 15th, if he's telling me, yeah, by the way, I'm getting ready to take baby to a whole other country, I would have been like, oh, no, you're not. No, 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 no.
Mm.
And we had a conversation about like, what? This
Yeah.
this new information does A, confirm that we're not crazy and the police thought the same thing. And B, that they were already working towards him being their primary person of interest before they said so a couple of days later. So on August 16th, we have some new information and we're adjusting the information we had for the 15th to the 16th because that was the day he said he was taking baby to Nepal. Apparently, it was one day off. It was the 16th. So the first search warrant, this is new information, was requested on the 16th. So the 21st of August, just as a refresher, the police chief gives his press conference and says husband's not cooperating and he's a person of interest. Well, the warrant that they got to search his home that day was issued on the 16th because probably alarm bells were going off. And this was, okay, this has to be the last straw. We need to get our probable cause going. We need to get a warrant. So we were right, Lindsay.
Again, I'm just well,
uh,
here's the thing really quick, if that's okay, that I
go
was
for it.
thinking about, and I was kind of talking to my husband about this earlier. You know, when you have these true crime cases and they're like the whoever after the person went missing started acting a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah, and then a part of the defense is like everyone handles grief differently,
Right.
yada yada yada. Okay,
Yep.
fine, that's fine.
It is.
But again, like, it doesn't make sense to leave the country if you're like, where, even if he doesn't care about Mamta, where is my child's mother?
Right. And if
Where
you're
is
not
my
even
child's
concerned
mother?
about that, the optics of having a missing wife, selling everything that they own, and not bothering to hang out for more than 2 weeks before they come back
It's not a good look.
is not a great
Yeah.
look. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Okay, sorry, that was my little.
No, you're allowed to interrupt me. You get like carte blanche to interrupt me whenever you want.
I don't like it. I don't. No, it's fine. I just like sometimes it just comes to me, and I'm like, oh, I was thinking about
Right.
that, and I just
That's what happens to me too. It just happens in rapid succession for me. And
yeah,
it's like,
no,
she's always interrupting Lindsay. I'm like, I'm sorry.
no,
I don't
it's
mean to.
fine. We're fine. We
Um,
interrupt each other. See,
yeah.
I just
It's
interrupted
okay
you.
with us. So like
Yeah,
chill.
chill,
chill.
chill,
Chill.
internet.
Chill. Gosh. Um, interestingly, I was able to get the language from the actual search warrant to include that in this update. So they must have went, no bueno, and went to the magistrate about 10:30 that night. And Virginia Code 19 point, it's in front of me. I'm looking up like, what is it? 19.2-56. You have to include certain information for a search warrant to get it approved. It included in this case, but is not limited to, Google records and location data of those Google searches, and search history and account information for Naresh Bhatt from July 27th to August 1st. And it cited the Virginia Code primary reason being abduction and kidnapping / forced labor punishment. It's all one section. The warrant affidavit said, quote, Mr. Bhatt, of his own admission, later verified that he was in the vicinity of what was later discovered to be Ms. Kafle's last known cellular location, and that his Google account has location-specific data pertinent to the discovery of her. So that's a reference to August 1st when he's in Loudon at the gas station and her phone is pinging and his isn't because he's got her phone.
Yeah,
So they must have reached the 15th, 16th of August and went, oh crap, he's trying to literally leave the country. He's telling us he's leaving the country to take baby to Nepal. We have to put a bow on this. And maybe that's why the public defender feels so comfortable saying, well, they rushed this and they didn't. I'm sorry, they did not. This is double fisting red flag central. Okay.
yeah.
I
You
would
get
have
all
done
of the
the
red
same thing.
flag. Yeah.
All of them. So
Well, does he think that the police are gonna just be okay with him leaving and be like, okay, well, we'll let you know what we find?
I'm surprised that he told them.
Yeah.
I had no words. I'm like, if I wanted to slip away and get away with whatever I've just done, why would you warn the police first? Why wouldn't you just go?
I just had a Donna Adelson flashback of going to Vietnam.
Going to Vietnam. Why didn't you buy a round trip ticket for the optics alone, you smart, savvy lady, you, Donna, because you're not stupid. You're also not that
No.
smart either, apparently, but still.
Again, so close to being a
So
good idea.
almost stuck the landing.
Almost, but you didn't.
It
And
didn't
look
even
at
get to
you.
land because he didn't even get to take off. But I'm going to red flag myself on that terrible joke.
Yeah, that was a dad joke if I've ever
It
heard
really,
one.
it really was a dad joke.
Good
I'm
job,
ashamed of
fanboy.
myself, but thank you. I'm secretly a little proud of myself.
I
So
like it.
yeah, we now know at this point in time, investigators are thinking the same thing that we were thinking they were thinking. So a couple of updates here. We've got to the 20th and the 21st. This is where things start sort of caving in a bit for Mr. Bott. This is when baby has her first birthday, and the police chief holds that press conference and says, we have a warrant. We're searching the home. He's a person of interest. He's not cooperating. And I've added some information here because I've got more legalese. We now know that officially that August 16th search warrant was finally executed on the 21st. This was happening during this press conference, the whole 5-minute press conference. We were all so winded by it, like, wait, that was it? The search includes, as far as findings go, now remember, this is not everything. This is what I've now been able to pull out. The search returned cell phone packaging different from the phone that he had in his possession. So maybe he had a burner phone. Notebooks and journals, which ought to prove interesting because that's all it said, notebooks and journals. So I'm going to assume that means Mamta, not that gentleman can't write his feelings down in a journal, but I would find it more likely that a woman might put their thoughts down in a regular
Yeah.
way in a notebook or a journal, especially if you're in a country that's not yours per se, and you don't have a ton of confidant or places to turn to express yourself, even if it's positive thoughts. She had friends and coworkers, but inside the four walls of that house, there was also visible blood splatter and spatter. Two different things. We'll get into that in the next episode when we talk about the hearings and the evidence. That was visible to the naked eye in the master suite, the suite being bathroom, bedroom. The house looked disheveled. He had suitcases packed, ready to go in plain sight. Travel documents for him and baby are in plain sight when the police get there, and the closet in the master bedroom looks like the hangers have just been cleared. As a result of these findings, sometime after 7 p.m., another search warrant request is submitted to the magistrate to obtain buccal swabs inside the mouth and a DNA sample from Naresh. It also included a timeline up to that point of events as they knew it, along with this statement. There exists now probable cause to believe Miss Kafle is currently being prevented from returning home on her own free will. There exists now evidence in this residence of an abduction.
An abduction or a murder in a...
I think at this point on August 21st, the most they can say, because at this point they haven't removed the tub yet. They haven't obtained all of the cell phone tests. Like they're still waiting for all the information we've already talked to you guys about a little bit at this
They
point
aren't
in time.
where we are. Yeah.
Right. But at the very least, they know there's no way she left on her own volition. The circumstances in totality, just she was either removed against her will or left and was prevented from coming back. So legally speaking, if Lindsay and I get in an argument, okay, and she puts her hand across the door and says, I'm not letting you leave until we're done, and prevents me from leaving, she's legally kidnapping me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think abduction, again, I'll watch Taken just to hear Liam Neeson say my name over and over again. It's not necessarily like he absconded with her and took her somewhere.
Yeah.
It could just mean she's not in a place voluntarily she wants to be, or that she has been removed against her will, even though that would also technically be kidnapping. I'm not going to dive too far down the black hole. Let's just put it this way. It's not as literal as it sounds.
Right.
So I'm curious about the buccal swabs and the DNA. Probably to rule out that the blood in that they found was his.
Yeah. I mean,
how could it be? There was so much of it, but
yeah, well, they don't have any part of, and I hate to say it that way, Kimberly, but like they don't have any part of her to compare.
I wonder if he did anything or made any effort to hide or destroy personal items like toothbrushes, hairbrushes, things they could pull her DNA from. Although, here's a big red flag. You have a whole child that is 50% her DNA. But still, I wonder if he thought about that.
I think he probably did. I think he probably wiped her. I mean, if he is like,
did he destroy her toothbrush? Because look, she left. She took her toothbrush.
Yeah. Well, and I think he might be smart enough to be like, get rid of her hairbrush, get rid of her toothbrush, get rid of...
Just not the blood spatter.
Yeah. He close.
Oh my gosh.
Again, close.
Oh my goodness.
But that's kind of where he was, because they may have, if the police come back, did she have a toothbrush? She took it with her when she left.
Right. Toothbrushes. You can get those at gas stations. She didn't need to take it. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. That was contradictory to what you're saying, but
no,
wasn't the
but
point I was trying to make.
I understand what you're saying, though.
So hear ye. We have a copy of the criminal complaint.
Woo.
I know, right? August 22nd, if you remember from episode 2, the next day he's arrested. This is the criminal complaint. I'll read it quickly because I know the text is probably really tiny, even if you've paused it. In the city of Manassas Park, on or about July 30th, Naresh Bhatt committed an offense or offenses against the named victim or property. I base my beliefs on the following facts. On or about July 30th, 2024, the accused murdered his wife, Mamta Bhatt. The incident occurred at the residence located at, redacted, but we know it's the house on Heather Court in the city of Manassas Park. During the course of this investigation, a substantial amount of digital and forensic evidence consistent with her death was recovered. There was evidence in the residence indicating the body was inside the residence and dragged out of the residence it got cut off, but on or about July 30th. This is interesting for a lot of reasons because, again, he's not charged with murder. And on the side here, it says the charge and the penal code, prohibition against concealment of a dead body. This is what we're going to have maybe more than one legal guest joining us here very soon because I have a lot of questions.
I almost have
Going
a
to court.
bone. Yeah, well, I almost have a bone to pick. Like,
I need to understand how they can say that he murdered his wife and use the word murdered in the criminal complaint and only be charged with prohibition against concealment of a dead body. How is this not contradictory? But also, why didn't the charge match the... I have a lot, and I'll save it for the next episode, but I have a lot of nuanced explanations for this.
Yeah.
Or why they did or did not do something. But on its face, prima facie, this looks ridiculous. He murdered his wife and dragged her body. And friends, family, loved ones of Mamta, it's hard to say, well, he murdered his wife. I know that you're probably listening, and just know that we're being as practical and objective when we look at stuff like this as we can possibly be. But if you've watched any of this coverage we've done so far, I get super worked up, and I'm just going to try not to do that. But if at any point you feel like, ooh, this is too stark and just too straightforward, you do not have to watch it. I don't blame you. And please send us an email, and we'll try to be as diligent as we can to get around that feeling that might give you. Because I know this has to be like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's two-sided too, right? Like you want to know what happened.
Yeah.
But you don't want to know what happened.
We have and we have arranged to have some of those people join us. We just have not closed the loop on the logistics of that. So keep your eye out for that. But also, this is probably not nearly as bad as what they had to see and hear in those initial court hearings, which we're going to talk about in the next episode.
Well, and two guys, like we are trying to get as much information to you as we can before the trial starts.
Right. And to make it make sense. The reason we keep doing updates and going backwards, forwards, is so that we can connect dots that we've talked about already and make the picture that much fuller versus either just not sharing it or just sharing it at random because it won't make any sense. So, we'll refrain from chewing on this particular piece because we're going to have plenty of time to chew on this, especially with our legal guests. But
I'm really excited about that because
me too.
I
wanted to spit it out, but I'm not gonna.
I know. Don't.
I'm not gonna. Not yet.
I was watching, just trying to find something on the internet of a police officer, legal analyst, contributor, I don't know, put in whatever the blank you want, about why this isn't a murder trial. And a lot of them said, I don't know. I'll
offer one explanation. I think it's my prevailing theory. My prevailing theory here is double jeopardy. They don't want to charge him yet with actual first degree premeditated or even manslaughter, because if they go to court, now I'll spoil a little bit because this is why this makes sense. In the next episode, we'll talk about it. He waived his preliminary hearing. He also pretty much demanded a speedy trial. And in Virginia, that's 5 months. You have 5 months from that day. He also waived his right to go before a grand jury. So they want to just bulldoze right through this. That gives the Commonwealth of Virginia the next 5 months and to turn that evidence over if it's exculpatory and shit. And there's already been a Brady motion. It's been a wild behind the scenes court experience. I'll tell you that. I think that they're worried that if they prematurely charge him, even though this is what we all believe at this point, with this information at least, that if they don't get a conviction, that there's some type of, I don't think it's double jeopardy because you'd have to be convicted of the same crime twice. But there's got to be some legal barrier there that if we swing and miss on this charge, we may not be able to do it again. That's my prevailing thought. That's my nagging thought. it also gives them time, because at this point, I'm going to have to sit in court and ignore everything we've talked about in every episode, guys, because I promised that I was going to be objective. That means I'm only going to make decisions about judgment based on what I'm going to hear in court. If they swing and miss,
Yeah.
but if they get a conviction for this charge, and I remember from the last episode, we're talking a year-ish, maybe a couple at the worst end of the spectrum for punishment for this. That buys them time while he's incarcerated, but not a lot to get that charge levied. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my question for our legal expert. Like, it's not quite double jeopardy, but is that one of the reasons they didn't file it first? Like, if they swing and miss, can they recharge him?
Yeah, and I don't remember if you and I spoke about this online here or off, but I think if I'm on that jury, Kimberly, and they're like, he concealed a dead body, but no one's explaining to me like who
Where
did
is
the
it?
killing. Like,
Well,
did
yeah,
I
no, we
miss
definitely
something?
talked about that for sure in
Yeah.
the last episode.
Yeah.
And I think they'll cover that pretty well. I think there's enough here just that we already know, and there's plenty more that we don't, for them to be able to say, hey, I don't have to tell you it snowed outside if you go out tomorrow morning and there's an
Yeah.
avalanche backed up to your front door and you can't open it. You're going to know that it snowed. I think that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen, which is why I don't think jurors will be confused about connecting dots. Like, well, how did this, how was it him? I think they're going to connect enough dots. I think they're going to be confused about why he's not being charged with murder.
Yeah. And I think I heard on the news, including jury selection, they're expecting like 8-ish days.
6.
6.
6 is what the public defender, another spoiler, it took them a very long day of court to nail down the dates for this trial. The defense wanted mid-January at the latest, and the state was like, we can go to February. That's still within 5 months.
Yeah.
And they spent a long time kind of bickering and going back and forth about this. It's the 9th, 10th, and 11th of December. So just Monday through Wednesday. And then the following week, the 16th, 17th, 18th, tentatively.
Okay.
But I read something on the court website, I believe, something about things specific to Thursdays. So I think it was strategically planned that way. I'll have to go back for the next episode and explain that to you guys and remember that I said it out loud. But yeah,
Well,
6 days-ish.
Yeah, maybe they thought they were going to go that whole week and then into the next.
And I don't know if that includes or if they've already done jury selection. I'm so used to watching this on other channels or on television, like, oh, jury selection comes first. I have no idea what's going on with that. All I know is that it's a
You're going to
jury
be
trial.
there.
Well, I'm going to be there, so I mean, I'll figure it out, obviously. But the time frame is a little. All the extras like jury selection and all that fun jazz. I have absolutely no clue if that's factored in or if that's just. I know there's a pretrial coming up. Actually, we should know more very soon about any changes or any updates about the actual trial itself. So I will make sure I pay attention to that. And if I can make it, I will go to that hearing. So I don't have to rely on scribbly notes from people I ask to take notes or, summaries later on from Newsweek.
Well, I have a question that the people probably are asking themselves as they're watching this is when you go, are you going to bring your red flags with you?
You know what? I think I will. I will have them. This is plastic. For a second, I was like, I can't bring this through the metal detector. I think I'll bring them in my bag. I don't know if they count as maybe something you could use as a weapon. I don't think the bailiffs will take it from me.
Wear your hair in a ponytail and just stick it in your ponytail. Like, remember when we were kids and we would put like pom-poms in our hair? Like anyway.
I can just
care about that.
Make a shirt out of them. But it's a serious affair. I'm not going to make a mockery of our judicial system. I'll be respectful. But the red flags might be on my person or in my car. And depending on what the time looks like, whether there's breaks and I can get back in, this is not exactly the Adelson trial or, the Delphi trial where I might have to fight tooth and nail to get in and out. But I don't know if it's a freely come in, come and go. I've been in this courthouse many times. It's not like some serious labyrinth of lottery tickets, but I have no idea. But I'll try to do maybe some quick lives while I'm there or just record some stuff on breaks and give you guys updates. But the red flags will probably be somewhere on my person, so they're easily accessible because it's like, what is it? MasterCard, Visa, Discover, don't leave home without it. Which one of them? Don't know. But don't leave home without your red flags, man. Some people wear them freely on their person. And you just have to find out the hard way that they're a red flag. Me, I show them to you.
Good for you, Kimberly.
Yeah, smack you in the face with one if you're acting stupid.
There you go.
Not in front of the courthouse. I don't want to get arrested.
Yeah,
Plausible
that would be
deniability.
good.
This
Yeah.
chick slapped me with a red flag. I know who you're talking about.
Oh, that's Kimberly. I guess I will be hosting this show on my own.
Making a name for myself with my red flags.
Exactly.
Last page, I promise. Miscellaneous updates. Real quick, just because they didn't fit anywhere, but I thought we should probably just run through them. Just in case anyone was confused about the Texas, New York Pam debacle, there are no biological family members in the United States. Full stop. She wasn't visiting a sister. She doesn't have any sisters. We talked about that too.
Yep.
They concede, benefit of the doubt, he might have been referring to a close friend that lived in New York. Something that will come up later, worth noting now to chew on a little bit. It's one of the few pieces of leverage the defense, in my opinion, has actually gained in this case. He's arrested on August 22nd, shortly before 11 a.m. I remember this. The Commonwealth's attorney later that day, Amy Ashworth, was at a press conference. The defense will later file a motion to expel the complaint for inaccuracies. However, she states almost verbatim here, it's almost a direct quote, that we're not sure if she's alive or if she's dead. Things are coming together. There's a lot going on. Things are moving quickly. That proves to be a pretty poor choice of words that is going to feed the defense's attempts to turn over that criminal complaint. Worth noting here, but she probably shouldn't have said that specifically because it's just fueling his defense attorney. Like, well, if you don't know, then at one point he makes a snarky comment in one of the hearings. I just was so tickled by it. I could almost hear it. He says, you chose to prosecute this case. I was like, oh. Also, Amy Ashworth has not made any other public statements since then because I think she probably got the old wrist slap. Like, really?
But she
Poor
won't
choice
be
of words.
making
Poor choice of
more
words, Amy. Hope you learned a lesson
statements.
there.
Yeah.
But also, I did find the CarMax that he took the Tesla to. And real quick, if this area doesn't look familiar to you, he took the Tesla to the CarMax, a hop, skippity jump just around the airport there. And there's the Home Depot and Walmart and Liberty Gas area. So he just went around the corner and took the car to that CarMax, just in case anyone was wondering about where the Tesla went before the police got it back. Just random things. I was like, this is an update, but where does it go? That's where it went. In the last little section, like, here's the asterisk. So he really likes this area. And I really hope in court we find out why, because the suspense is killing me. I have to know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Good job, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you
I really
for
appreciate those slides.
Bearing with the both slow and rapid fire pace of that.
No, you're good. I think to end, this friend that I've referred to a couple times, her interview, she said that Naresh had called her while he was in jail, and he said, or she was asking him questions, and he wasn't really answering a whole lot. And the only thing that he said was, do you think I would be here if Mamta was here? And the interviewer was like she's dead or
right, like
what?
here or
yeah. And she just said
here?
he didn't say. He didn't say. So
Well,
I don't know if that was a slip of the tongue or just kind of like, well, if she was around, I wouldn't be here,
right. Back to that Gone Girl thing where he's like, come home, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, that's a reach, friend. But luckily, jail calls are public record and they're recorded.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll hear some of those too. But
for sure.
Guys, we're going to really try hard not to have any more updates, but I think it's a good thing that we keep getting updates because that means we can share more with you and keep you informed. And we're going to talk about hearings that have already happened, hearings that are coming up, some of the evidence that was discussed in these hearings, some of the kind of ping pong going back and forth between the public defender and the state. We're going to bring you all of that very shortly. But first, we got to get like super, super unhappily stuffed on tryptophan, turkey, weird relatives, and all the fun stuff that happens with holidays. But those are the updates. We're going to have more guests soon relevant to this case. So
you guys, it's about to get really busy up in here.
It really is. So stay with us, please.
Yeah, so stay with us. And, even after the trial, it's not gonna stop for us. We still have a lot
No.
of things some special
Oh,
people that are
yes.
coming that I'm really
Oh.
excited about.
And other
Um,
trials. We were going to collaborate on a different
yeah.
trial with another really great channel, and then that trial got delayed. So there's lots of stuff coming. We're just getting
Yeah.
started.
You don't want to miss this. And enjoy your day tomorrow, whatever you're doing. If you're with family or if you're not participating, I just hope you guys have a great day. I know Kimberly and I are very grateful for all of you and
Yeah.
grateful for your time with us during the Mamta series that we've kind of started, and it's not over. And we're going to have some really great people that are going to contribute to this. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much. We think you're amazing, and we will see you guys next time.
We will see you after Turkey Day. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We're grateful for you. I'm grateful for Lindsay. Make good choices. Don't put them on the internet if you can't, or we might be talking about them later. Good night, everybody. Start over.
We're so stupid.
So extra.
We have no business being on the internet.